What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach T, back with another live video for you. Happy Easter to all those that celebrate Easter out there. Listen, man, listen, I'm delighted, bro. We got a great show for you today. As you can see, as promised, I told y'all we are going to be changing things up a little bit. So as you can see in the title for the show, up there, I'll be joined by my boy, Swifty from Swifty Sports Network. Do me a favor, go out there, make sure you follow my guy. He's going to be giving you the short form content throughout the week. And then we're going to double back on Sundays at 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Central. And we're going to give you the long format content. Listen, the dynamic duo is together. This is what everybody was afraid of. Everybody was afraid of, and we got it for you. It's going to be a great show. Swifty's going to break down the scouting reports on the wide receiver prospects going into the draft, and then your boy Coach T is going to have the Teven Jenkins All-22 breakdown for you. So without further ado, y'all know how we do it in here. Let's get to the intro. Cue the intro, Maestro. Let's go.
Welcome to Chicago Bears 360. Keeping it a buck with Coach T.
Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence. On the road to them Benjis, I fill my teeth with diamonds. I'm high as fuck in the sky, you would've thought I'm pilot. I'm from Chicago, it get ugly, fill the streets with violence. Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence.
Past, present, future. We bear down.
So there he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Welcome to the show, my guy. I ain't even going to call you a guest, man. You family at this point. We're going to have my boy. I want y'all to do me a favor. Welcome my boy Swifty to the show, man. The greatest scout in the business. What up, Swifty?
It's an honor to be here, Coach, man. I can't wait, man. I'm so excited.
Heard from him. I told y'all he's going to be making some things happen, bro. And listen, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan, bro. Got a chance to get out on Bears YouTube. Got a chance to check out a few of Swifty's videos, man. And I was like, this dude is putting in the work. And just to give you guys an idea how this works, man, and why we thought this was a great combo, because this is what you get in NFL franchises. You get a great scouting guy that knows player personnel, and you match it with a good system, and somebody knows the X's and O's, and that's how you formulate a good football team. So to me, man, I'm as big a fan of Swifty as he is of mine. We thought it was a match made in heaven. So now we finna give y'all that smoke. Y'all, we finna give y'all that
It's coming.
smoke.
It's
It
coming.
is what it is, man. So I tell you what. So without further ado, man, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna double back and take care of some business. Let me pull it up real fast. Y'all know we got to give a shout out to the field soldiers before we get into it. So let me pull them up real fast. Let's jump into the segment and we'll double back. Just like that. I don't know what happened with the graphics, but we're going to roll with it. Shout out to the field soldiers, man. Let me run through the line real fast for you, and we'll go like that. So my boy, Dogs, Cats 2, just subscribed this morning, a couple hours ago, matter of fact. Buck Long, Tracy Mack, Kurt, 2512, Hollywood Film, shout out to you. Lethbridge Empire, Dave Lynch, Steve Lindsay, Jimmy Walton. Shout out to you, the Scott family. These are my field soldiers: Dwayne Peterson, Tajon Mullins. Let's see who else we got in here. I already called out Kurt, Dave Lynch, Steve Lindsay, Jimmy Walton. Called you out already. Pablo 1021, R99M, Kelly Harris, Johnny Warren. That's all the new field soldiers for this week, man. Shout out to you guys. Listen, this is just not about Coach T. Make sure if you're a field soldier, you get over to Swifty Sports Network and get locked in. I want you to go as soon as the show is over, go over and subscribe, man. Like I said, Swifty's doing a great job in breaking down these player personnel and short form content. He's the resident scout for Chicago Bears 360, and we just bring you that fire just like that. You're going to know what the players are, and then we're going to bring them in, and we're going to talk X's and O's. So the next step is we're going to start talking to me about these wide receivers, man. Swifty, how you feel about that?
And I feel great about it, man. You know I'm ready. You know I'm always
So
ready.
give me an overview of just the wide receiver group as a whole and what kind of depth you see in this draft for the wide receivers before we jump into these top 5 players you identified.
I got you. Man, it's deep. This class, the last 2 classes, in fact, have been extremely deep. There's talent. You can find X receivers, Z receivers, slot receivers. You can find big guys, short guys, quick guys. It's deep. That's why I'm so excited that we have wide receivers in need. And the more I study this class, the more I think double dipping and grabbing 2 wide receivers from this draft is going to be a great idea. And I'm excited because you've seen it probably in the scouting reports. And when I'm watching these guys, I'm envisioning them in a Bears uniform, and I'm like, man, it'd be good to see these guys with Justin Fields. So many of them.
All right, cool. So let's get into it, man. The first guy we're going to bring up here, Swifty, you can just talk as I bring him up on the screen, and we'll just jump straight into it.
Who we going with first? David Bell? Man, I mean,
Yes, sir.
this guy, he's one of the guys who we probably won't have to take in the second round. He's a guy who has the size to play the X. I don't know if what you said, like, the difference between a number 1 and an X. I don't know if he's a guy who's going to be a number 1 receiver in the NFL, but he is a guy who's a smooth route runner, great hands, a wide catch radius. He doesn't have that elite speed, but if you don't respect him, he can get by you and beat you deep. He can battle through contact, make those contested catches. Honestly, to me, he's A-Rob after the ACL injury, because A-Rob used to have that deep speed. I haven't seen it since he's been in Chicago. He's not quite the same receiver after that ACL tear, and I see a lot of that in David Bell.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack for calling him Diet A-Rod, man. And I'm glad you made that distinction, man, because here's the thing. The one thing that we pointed out, the distinction you made, and I'm going to get into this when we get towards the end of the program. You're hearing a lot of that. We need an X. We need an X. So one of the distinctions and coaching points I'm going to, kind of bring out after we go through all 5 of these guys is the difference between an X and wide receiver 1. So Bears, Twitter, social media are making those synonymous, an X and a wide receiver 1. I'm going to draw the line in the sand and tell you why the Bears should be focused on a wide receiver 1 initially. And if they don't get a wide receiver 1, why we then can move to focusing on an X. But to your point about David, right? I've been beating him up on Bears Twitter, because, a lot of people are locked in on him. But David specifically for me, as a play caller, as an offensive play designer, strategically, he doesn't do anything for me as from a play caller perspective, because I want to put defensive coordinators in a compromised position from day one. What do I mean by that? Give me a guy, a wide receiver 1, that first of all can line up in all 3 positions. That's the X, the Z, and the slot. Whatever you call your slot in your offense is up to you individually. But give me a guy, what I deem as a wide receiver 1, that I can line up in each of the positions, right? So in this case, if I line up David in the X, does he force a defensive coordinator to keep 2 high safeties? Meaning, does he force him? Does his speed force him? Right? I'm scared of his speed and him getting by me, so I'm gonna play 2 high safety, whether it's cover 2 man or cover 2 zone, to make sure we have a top over the defense, so this guy doesn't blow by me. Why is that important? Because if I can get a guy and force the defense in 2 high safety, that takes a man out of the box and leaves the box with
Opens up that
7
run
men.
game. Yep.
Right. So Demo can eat. So pick your poison as a defensive coordinator, right? Either you're going to stop the run, or I'm going to put a guy out there and split them out at the X and Z, Mooney and whoever, and You're going to pick your poison. This shifts us from being a passive offense to an aggressive offense. So let's get into the next guy. We don't want to dive or stay on this
Who we
guys
got
too
next?
long. We got your boy out of Nevada.
Romeo
Let's
Dobbs. Okay, okay.
let's go. You can
I
get
like this
into it.
kid. He was a high school quarterback. He transitioned to wide receiver, instantly had success. He had so much chemistry with QB Carson Strong. You could see it. He has great footwork and route running. He's polished. He has great size to play the X. He's a lot like David Bell, but I think he's got a little bit longer arms and potential to be a little bit faster down the field as well. He didn't run the 40 at the combine, so it's you kind of don't know what his non-football speed is or what his max is, but like this guy as well, he has that savvy footwork. He's clutch. He makes the contested catches. I see a lot of A-Rob in this guy too. Not to double cop down on that A-Rob comparison, but something that's easy for Bears fans to see is a guy playing on the X who doesn't beat you deep, but can make those consistent catches and be really good route runner and a clutch receiver on third down.
Yeah, I like his size. The thing again, similar to like you said, is David Bell, and that's a good comparison with the speed. It concerns me as a play caller. Again, I want first speed and size so I can take advantage of the speed and force, like I said previously, force them into too high coverage. But here's the next step with the X receiver. If I'm going to line him up at the X receiver position, is he big enough that he can be physical to beat press coverage, right? So if you
And
got
that's something that yeah, Dobbs and Bell can both do, yeah, for sure.
yeah, so if you
And they're
got
they're
guys
not.
like
I don't want to say they're too slow. I don't want people to get too far on that, but they're
yeah,
they're not Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, George Pickens running. They're not running 4-3, 4-4s. They're more 4-5 guys. But four or
right,
five guys can have success and they can still run. I mean, they're going to beat me and Coach T in a race all day.
right. You don't know, man. I might pull out a 4.6, 4.7 on you. No, I'll just mess with
I'm not
you. But
doubting
yeah,
Coach T.
no. My them days is over. But to your point, yeah, I like the frame because again, press coverage. You got a physical corner just can't come up and bully him. Players know this, man. Players know your height and weight. Defensive backs know your height and weight, man. Look, this guy's light in the britches. So guess what? I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna press him. I'm gonna try him. I think they would do that with Darnell Mooney in a lot of games. Hey, this guy's is fast, so let me interrupt the timing and jam him at the line of scrimmage so he doesn't become a threat. Or I'm a defensive coordinator. I say, hey, we're going to negate this guy's speed. I think you can be physical with him, and I'll play single high safety on him. Just jam him at the line of scrimmage so we don't have to worry about him blowing passes, right? Something like that. So, again, not to beat a dead horse, but let's get into the next guy. I think you like him a lot. This is your boy, Alex Pierce. Go in
Oof.
on him.
Okay, man. I love Alec Pierce. I personally watched him a lot at Cincinnati. He is just a big bodied target. And when watching him, you don't say, this guy has 4.3 speed, but he has that deceptive speed where he can get down the field and he's an absolute playmaker with the ball in the air. Like he wins the 50-50s, he high points and takes care of those jump balls, and he's specializes in those back shoulder throws. And he's just a guy that when I watch him, I can see I see a lot of Jordy Nelson, but bigger and maybe even slightly faster. And he's a guy that kind of gets underrated in this draft process so far. I think he's going to be a really good pro.
Hey, listen, to me, underrated is good, right? When you got a 4.3, 6.3, 4.3 guy that's going underrated in the draft, this could be a guy that we pick up that ends up being a player for some time in our offense. And again, if I'm thinking about an offensive coordinator, right, I put myself in the offensive coordinator's seat and the defensive coordinator's seat at the same time. Now I'm getting nervous, right? You got a 6'3 guy, big body guy that can run a 4.3. Look, even with inexperience, I got to respect his speed. Defensive backs are going to try him initially, but as soon as you establish, it doesn't even have to be a completed pass. The first time you run past a guy, the defensive coordinator is going to go, oh, hell, let me pull a safety back, right?
I saw
Now,
that in the Alabama game. You see it on the first couple plays of the game. If you watch that game back,
mm-hmm.
they tried to they weren't pressing Alec Pierce, but they were up on him. he ran right by both their corners. They switched the corner, put a different guy on him. He ran by him too, and after that, they just rolled the coverages his way. Like, hey, this is the guy we got to stop on that
See,
Cincinnati offense.
that's what you get with Swifty right there. See, that's against Alabama, right? So
Mm-hmm.
imagine the Alabama corner, a Cincy guy running past him. Again, when you do your scouting report as a coach, you're gonna be like, hold on a second. He ran past an Alabama guy, pumped the brakes, too high safety. So if I'm designing this offense, I'm Luke Getsky. I'm saying, okay, Justin, we're gonna call this play, but I'm gonna also give you an audible check to run. If I go to the line of scrimmage and we got some 9 route call or what people call a go route call with Alex, I see too high safety, a 7-man box. We're going to check red, whatever, red 30, whatever, right? Inside, outside zone. I'm just going to turn around and hand it to Demo, right? Because you gave me a 7-man box. That's the strategic part of the game that a lot of people don't get, right? It's a numbers game. You can only play football with 11 men on each side of the ball. So, let me get
Yeah,
off
as
my
soon as you bring
soapbox.
that safety out the box, I mean, that's when Demo's going to eat, and that's when Coach T said it. We're going to see that power. We're going to see power, and that's something Matt Nagy didn't run. That we're going to see it.
Yeah,
We're going to see it, and I'm excited.
we
I
go get it.
predicted it last year when we took Fields. I thought we were going to run a power offense. I thought,
Right.
you know what, maybe this is the only chance Nagy has, but maybe he's going to find an identity and eat off that power and go to play action. He didn't do it. We know what happened, but I thought he
Yeah.
would.
So yeah, you're right. And let's get it. So let's get into our next guy. Another guy that everybody's been talking about. I like him. I think you like him, but there's some downside. But that's our guy, Christian
Oh,
Watson.
Christian Watson. Okay, okay. Yeah, Christian Watson has a lot of hype going for him right now. I mean, he's big, he's fast, and he can win those jump balls. He's a really good player, but I have some questions about him right now. I mean, he had a lot of drops. He needs to bulk up. He I, hold on, I was trying to pull up my notes on him real quick here. I wasn't ready for this. I was ready for Pickens, my bad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Let me get over to him. I know I
It's
got him
all
on
good.
here.
We got time.
I've just studied so many wide receivers, but I mean, he's a playmaker. I mean, you see it. He played with Trey Lance in an offense that ran the ball a ton, and he never
Mm-hmm.
put up those eye-catching numbers. Like he never broke out and was amazing, but he was always dangerous with the ball in his hands. He can go up and get it and make those insane contested catches, those one-handed grabs. He's got 4.3 speed. He's got the size to play as an X. But overall, I think he's going to get overdrafted. I mean, the biggest thing about him when you watch him on tape is he's explosive. He's got the
Right.
great height, the great build, but he needs a lot of polish. He drops balls. He's not a great blocker. He needs polish on his route running. He lets the ball come into his chest sometimes, even when he doesn't drop it. I, I see. I think teams could use him in a Debo role. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
people talk about that. To me, I don't know if he's has quite the frame for that.
Right.
He's big, but he's not quite thick enough like that, like a Debo is or a Traylon Burks. So I see him
Right.
more as like a wide receiver 4 who has as much potential as anybody. Like he's got all types of potential. But right
Right.
now, like if you're talking about day one, what he's going to do right off the bat, I'm a little skeptical if he's going to come in here and be our number one wide receiver. Like I think Pickens or Pierce or some of these other guys could. I just
Yeah.
don't see it right away from Watkins or Watson.
Yeah, I was a little bit excited about him earlier on, probably about a month or so ago. But as I got into some of your scouting report and then, really thinking about where I would line this guy up uh, in my offense, right? This to me would be example of a guy that'd be a good X, but not a good wide receiver 1. What do I
Hmm.
mean by that? He'll be great at the X. He'll force teams into too high safety, right? But can I move him to the slot, right? And I don't get the Debo comparison because Debo is a running back at wide receiver. He's a monster. He's built to take
He's bulky,
linebacker and
man.
safe. Yeah, linebacker and safety hits. He can absorb those blows and still fall forward, right? And the competition thing with Christian Watson is a real discussion to have. You're talking about a guy that did well in a Senior Bowl, but where's the body of work versus top competition? Not saying he's not going to pan out to be that guy, but if I have to compare him to Pickens, for example, I want a dog. I want a guy that's proven it versus Alabama's, versus SEC competition, right? That's gone out there and proven it, and you got history. You got a body of work to evaluate him by. He could turn out to be an all-star. Now, let me say this too for Bears fans: if he's overdrafted, don't be disappointed, because that could mean great things for us later on in the draft. Like if somebody pulls him up, like I've seen in mock drafts,
in the
somebody
first
drafts him
round.
too
Yeah.
early. Yeah, that
And,
means
and that's where I want to kind of make it clear here. Like I don't dislike Watson at all. Like he has, like I said, he has as much potential as anyone, and he could come in and stretch the field day one as your number
mm,
4 wide receiver, though probably not the X or number 1. He's just, if he gets drafted in the first round, I'm not going to be mad. Like I'm like Coach T said, I'm going to be like, okay, that means maybe Pierce or George Pickens fall to us, because he's a guy who's just that 40 time that he ran with his size, it makes teams in the draft room, there's always teams, they see like 4.340s and they start licking their chops and they're like, we need this guy on our team. And I would rather have more of a polished wide receiver to come in here than a guy who just has all the potential.
all right. A good points. And so, last but not least, let's get into, I think, who's your guy and my guy. Let's get it into this George Pickens breakdown, and we'll go from there.
Man, I love George Pickens. The only downsides with this guy, he's gotten a couple fights in college. He could be a little immature, and he tore his ACL, but he fought back, came back and played the last 3 games of the year and made a huge 50-plus yard catch in the championship. He is one of my personal favorite players to watch. He's just a playmaker. He makes those sideline catches. He'll go over the middle. He has a second gear where he'll be running with the cornerback, and it'll look like they're stride for stride, but once that ball's in the air, Pickens can just kick into that second gear and create separation. And then he's got the body control to go up, make those awkward imbalance catches in the air. He's got advanced route running. He doesn't waste steps, and he's got great hands. I think he's a guy who, as long as he's healthy at the next level, he's going to be productive. He's going to be at least a number 2 receiver, and he's going to be an X, but definitely could be a number 1 receiver in the NFL. And that's what he could be, a guy who catches 100 balls or even 15 touchdowns in a year. He's got all that potential, and I love his game. Right away, if we got him, he'd come in and be our starting X right now and line up opposite Mooney, and I'd be ready for it.
Yeah, I would too. And I'll quickly address the kind of negative, commentary about, his immaturity and stuff like this. If I draft a guy like this, I bring him in, and I get him with the veteran leadership in the locker room day one. Here's the thing: you can't teach a guy to be a dog, but you can teach him how to discipline that and bring it back within the lines and say, hey, this is when it's okay to be a guy like that, to go out there and use some of that aggressive nature to your advantage, right? So where is that going to show up? It's going to show up in the blocking game, and it's going to show up as a tone setter for physical games. Think about the NFC North. Think about the rivalry with Green Bay and how it gets chippy sometimes, right? You want guys like that. I always say that, and people laugh at me, right? You need a couple guys on your team that's on the cusp. They
You
on the
need him,
cusp
yeah.
of catching the charge, right? You need a guy like that. And from his skill set perspective, when we start talking about wide receiver 1 versus just the X, this is my guy, right? And I'm gonna let you pick your top 2 or 3 guys that fit that criteria. But this is my guy that I say, okay, fast enough, big enough that I can line him up at the X, I can line him at the slot, I can line him up at the Z, and I can create mismatches, and I'll keep a defensive coordinator on his heel with my play calling, because the defense is going to have to account for him no matter where he misses, lines up on the field. Give me your guys, your 2 or 3 guys that you think fit the wide receiver 1 criteria that I laid out for you.
The first guy is obviously going to be Pickens. He's your guy, he's my guy. I've liked him. I've liked him since he got to Georgia. He's a playmate. He was a playmaker as a true freshman, and he's a guy who, as long as he's healthy and he doesn't get suspended, which that's not a thing that usually continues over the NFL. Like a guy gets into a fight in college, that doesn't mean he's going to come in the NFL and be fighting everybody. He's going to be really good in the NFL, and I'd love to see him in a Bears uniform. Second guy would be Alec Pierce. Pierce just has that prototypical size, strength, contested balls. Like he would be a perfect possession receiver, and he's also a guy that can take the top off. So that's where he has that number one potential, where he has that he can beat you downfield and he can beat you on slants over the middle or outs. He can do anything. I mean, he's just a guy who's going to be great. And as the third, I think kind of just to be different and not go with Watson. I think Watson would be a great fit, but I think honestly the guy would be a better chance to be a number one early in his career, I think would be Jalen Tolbert, Southern Alabama. He's only 6'1", so he has enough size. He's slightly thin, but he is strong, and he's a guy who can be an X receiver, and maybe not the number one right away, but if you have him and Mooney, it's kind of like a situation where you'd have a 1A and a 1B. It's like they're both right there, really good players that you can throw to either one of them, and either one of them can lead your team in receiving.
I like how you broke that down, Swift, because you gave us the surefire guy, the guy we believe is the surefire wide receiver number one. You gave us the second guy, but again, I want y'all to pay attention to the breakdown. Now he gives you Jalen Tolbert, a guy that if we create, while we're creating the correct system, the funnel, right, of development for guys, a guy like Tolbert can come in and he can grow into that wide receiver one body, right? He can put the extra 7 pounds on, and then he grows into your wide receiver one. Like we said, can beat press coverage, blow past guys. You can move him to the X, Z slot, and he becomes that matchup nightmare. Case in point, I'll give you an example. Who realistically remembers Devontae Adams when he came out in the draft?
Oh yeah,
Honestly,
Fresno State.
exactly.
He wasn't
And
that
so
good.
you match him with Devontae's, or the coach that said responsible for developing Devontae into who he is, right? And see what happens. You have Luke Getsy put his arm around this guy and say, "Look, been there, done that. You want to be great like this? This is what you got to do." You know what I'm saying? What's your thoughts on that?
I love it, man, and that's a great point with Getsy right there. Is that's something that a lot of people don't even realize is Adams' first couple years in the league, he struggled, and he credits Luke Getsy for helping him develop and becoming the guy he is, and that's something that Adams has came out and said on his own. So when you got Devontae Adams saying that, you definitely want to get some young wide receivers in here for Luke Getsy to work with in this offense and give him a chance to develop. Mooney obviously is still young and has potential to develop as well, but just adding another guy or two and putting him in that room with Getsy and letting him see what he can create, it's exciting.
Now let's take a step further. Let's give me your X only guys, right? I think you
Okay.
hinted to it a little bit, but give me your top two X only guys. He's an X. He's a surefire X.
The two first that are going to hit right off are the ones we mentioned already, David Bell and Romeo Dobbs. Those are guys who are both perfect to come in and play the X. The guy that's kind of a sleeper one that I dropped in my sleeper video today would be that Eric. How do I say his name again? Eric Izukama. Eric Izukama. Yes. He's big. He's big bodied. He doesn't quite have the speed to take over the top, but I saw him make some incredible contested catches with a quarterback that wasn't that great. He would make his quarterback look better. They just throw the ball up over his way, and he'd go up over 3 DBs and get it. So he's a guy who I think could come in and play the X, especially if we got, because there's some guys we can get in the second round that we haven't really talked about a lot, like Sky Moore, who's like a Steve Smith type. I would not be mad if we did that, if we took like a slot guy with our first pick and then came back later and got the X, because you could find a number one between Sky Moore and Darnell Mooney, where if you think one of those guys can be the number one and be that good, maybe you come back later and get an X. But that's kind of on Ryan Poles. What does he think in this offense? Like, do we need that number one right now? I think we do. I think Mooney can be it, but I would like to get a number one receiver like George Pickens. But if we don't and we miss it and we address the offensive line instead, having a guy like David Bell, Romeo Dobbs, and Izukama late in the draft who can come in and start at your X right now, so we don't have to play a guy like Equinemius St. Brown. I think it could work either way. I could see it going either way.
See, this is what I like about the Coach T and Swifty dynamic, right? Because I feel like these are conversations that's happening in Hallis Hall right now, right? So, Coach, Coach is talking to Ryan Poles, right? And he's like, listen, Ryan is telling him, we're not going to reach for a guy. We're going to take the guy that comes to us, and then we're going to develop the guys into who we're going to be. So initially, I want my wide receiver one. If I don't get my wide receiver one, the versatile guy, right? Take what comes to you. So I'm going to take either the X only guy or I'm going to take the slot guy. And then, like you said, circle back. And if it's Jalen Tolbert out of Southern Alabama, then I'm going to say, okay, here you go. Let's take this guy. We think he has, wide receiver one potential. Let's take him into practice. Let's beat him up a little bit in practice. Let's really go after him in practice and develop this guy and see what he has to become that guy. And then, so the next thing I was going to ask you is, give me my best slot guys. Straight up slot guys. Who you think is going to be fit that kind of criteria.
Gotcha. The two that I would that immediately stand out to me when thinking about, well, first I want to mention John Metchi, because we haven't spoke about Metchi at all. But Metchi's a guy who's doesn't quite have the prototypical size you look for in X. He's 6 foot. I think he's like 190, 195. But he played the X in Nick Saban's offense, and he was great. And he's such a great route runner. I think he could play the X eventually, but he's definitely immediately, if we got him, he'd come in and play the slot right away. Like, he's got the 4.5 speed, lightning quick feet, and I've mentioned it before, but Metchi's the best route runner in this draft class. I love him. But then the other two guys are going to be Sky Moore and Khalil Shakir. Both of those guys are going to be dangerous. They're going to be weapons in the slot. Actually, there's so many of those guys. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson, you can mention him too. This draft is one thing it's not short on is wide receivers. And with Shakir and Wan'Dale and Sky Moore and all these guys that can come in and be our slot receiver right away, like, it's so deep. And then there's all those guys in the sleepers as well, like the Samari Toure's and the Bo Meltons, those guys who you can have on day 3, round 5, 6, 7. Those guys are going to be dangerous slot weapons as well. And the Kyle Phillips, I didn't mention Kyle Phillips either. That guy's he's like the next Danny Amendola, Wes Welker type guy, like Julian Edelman. Like, his routes over the middle, like, he's not going to kill you as a route runner, but his hands are incredible. He knows where to go. Like, when you watch him, he starts out his route and he knows where the open spot is. He goes there and his hands catch it every time. He'll make those toe drag catches on the sideline or take a hit over the middle of the field. Like, so many slot receivers. I could go on for days there.
Yeah, I think the guy that, and I've been on for a while, the obvious name you're going to hear from me is Sky Moore. He's just, I watched a lot of film, whether it be while I was coaching or just as a fan, right? And there's certain guys you see, they just jump out on film and you're like, that kid has it, right? And I remember the first time I saw any Sky Moore film, I was like, this dude is different. He's real different. He is similar to the first time I was facing Isaiah Wynn when we were playing him. It was just like we were playing against Isaiah Wynn. I was like, this dude is going to the league, right? So similar to that, I'm saying Sky Moore, while he's in college, I'm like, this dude is going to make noise at the next level. It's the guys you look at and you see that they're clearly the best football player on the field, regardless of position. You're like, if he's an offensive lineman, I could put this kid at tight end and he probably would just, excel. Those type of players, they're just exceptional, man. So I really love Sky Moore. If we got him, like you said, I would not be mad at all. And
I think we actually both compared him to yesterday when we were talking. We were just me and Coach T were just kind of talking, and we both spit out the same comparison for Sky Moore. Steve Smith, man, and Steve Smith's one of my favorite players I ever watched. Man, he was a dog. Like, that's a guy, and that's someone asked me on Twitter the other day because I said that, and they're like, So do you think he could be an X or a starter outside? And I was like, look, right now he doesn't have the size, and I wouldn't expect it when he first comes out. But when you have a dog like that, I'm not going to bet against him. Like, I'm not going to
Exactly.
say he can't do it.
It don't matter. And I think that might be a cool conversation that they're having at Hallis Hall, right? They're like, look, we want a wide receiver one prototypically, right? And we want to go after Pickens. But if more comes to us, you have enough faith in guys like that if you challenge him and say, look, man, we're gonna put you at this X receiver and see what you do. He's one of those guys gonna take it personally and step up to the challenge. And regardless of his size, regardless of his limitations, again, he's gonna go out to prove you wrong. So if he ends up being our guy and we get one of the other guys, and just think about from a competitive standpoint, the atmosphere you create in that wide receiver room. You got Mooney, he's a hard worker. You got Byron Pringle, who everybody that follows me knows I know like up close. Byron is a dog. Byron is a guy like you don't want to see. Although he plays wide receiver, he's not a mean dude, but don't try him. Like I know that. You know what I'm saying? So you
Yep.
bring in a Pickens and a Sky Moore potentially, or Sky Moore. It's a problem. You have guys that's physical, aggressive at the wide receiver position. And if we're talking about rival football, we're talking about NFC North. Them are the guys I want when we face Green Bay, right? I want guys that's going to snatch each other by the face mask and be like, look, let's go in here and smoke these guys, man. So shout out to Swifty for that, man. Thank you for the scout report, Swifty. Swifty gonna stick around. Look, this we locked in now, man. Swifty's my guy, so y'all might as well get used to it, bro. We bringing the smoke, man. So as promised, I told y'all we doing the wide receiver scout reports, and you'll know I got for you. I'm going through the offensive line. We have the Teven Jenkins all-22 breakdown for you. So we're going to kick off that video next. We're going to jump into that. And while we're in there, we're going to go through the comments and pick out some of the comments we want to address on the show. So do me a favor, lock in, grab you something to drink, grab you some popcorn, fried chicken. I don't know what you got. Grab you something, man. Enjoy the video. And we're going to discuss the Teven Jenkins breakdown when we come back. Let's get into it.
One thing you're going to notice about Teven Jenkins is he's decisive and quick, and his feet are light in his kick step, and he has an exceptional power step, right? So here you're going to see him take two quick, sharp kick steps, right? Again, feet in the ground, hands, hips, hands, able to rotate, but he's patient with his punch, and he sits back in the chair with that patience, right? He's not leaning, but he's allowing himself to get in the defender, inside leverage with his hands, and watch the power of his punch, right? It's enough to stalemate and knock back the defender, right? So it stalemates his momentum. Now the defender has to reset on his pass rush and then come back with a second move. So you'll see two quick kick steps. 1, 2, hands in the ground, feet in the ground. Now he can rotate his hips through the punch, stalemate the defender. Now the defender has to reset, come back again, and get some again on the second punch. His ability to use his hands and get off the ball and run his defender, giving up some leverage right here. But still, the thing about zone plays is the idea is to basically get your man moving one direction, inside, outside zone. It's up to the back to read the butts of the offensive lineman, tell where the opening is going to be. You see the wash down on the backside. So the placement right here is kind of perfect with Teven Jenkins. He's getting his hands on the inside breastplate of the defender. With a big guy like this, you're not going to get necessarily a pancake block, but you still want to get that inside hand leverages, run your feet. The defender tries to get off of him, but Teven does a good enough job of just maintaining contact and allowing him to get outside. So again, nothing special here. Teven's backside on a zone read. So you can just see how physical and powerful he is, right? He knows what his assignment is. He makes up his mind really fast and decisive. Hey, my guy's in a wide 9. I got to get out there, so I need to make sure my feet in position and my body's in position to make this block. Some sort of side kick step, and then he's using his hand to finish out the block. Here real quick, you're going to just see how Kevin uses the leverage or uses the space created by Cole Kmet with the chip, basically to gain depth and added help with pass pro with his pass set. But I don't really think Teven needs help with pass pros with chips. So by watching the film and what I've seen from the film so far, I believe Teven is good enough. And I believe with this coaching staff, they were still trying to see and figure out how good Teven was going to be. So they would add some chips in with Cole Kmet to help him out with pass protection. But you'll see in the footage later on that I believe Cole is sturdy enough to hold up in 1-versus-1 pass protection. But here you'll see an example of, from a Cole Kmet detractors, of how he was used a chip. And this is delay route, chip delay route. So he can't get into the pass coverage or be a primary receiver if he's delaying like this, right? So let's clear this up. So now Cole, it just allows Cole to get some more timing down. This is how they use tight ends to help, new tackles get accustomed to the NFL, the speed of the NFL game. So they'll add a chipper in. Now Cole's delayed in his route. Shouldn't be the primary receiver now, but that affects offensive line play. You can see how offensive tight ends have an effect on offensive line play, and also how it can hurt their numbers sometimes, because if you don't know what you have in an offensive line, now you got to use tight ends and running backs to help out. So, but I think the good news moving forward is we won't see a whole lot of this, because I believe Teven to be well enough or good enough to basically hold his own in one-on-one. But I still like him here in the setup. Quick, light feet, skip step, kick step, 1-2, gets even further deeper for 5, sets up, but he makes sure when he's going to make contact, feet are in the ground, watch him sit in there. Now, if you go back again and look at the Larry Bourne tape, compared to Teven, his head is not down, looking down at the ground. He's a little bit forward, but that's okay. But his head is not down, and his arms are not totally extended, right? He's able to basically absorb the contact and deliver the blow. Another rep in the run game for Teven Jenkins, but again, good rep. He wins the rep, but I want to see him stay a little bit lower right here. His pad level a little bit high. Defender's able to get up under him right here. And although he's able to get in the way with his big frame, ideally you want him to see the point of contact, or see how his pad levels is higher than defenders. He wants to get them hands inside and able to get to the breastplate so he can run that guy 5 yards, 10 yards downfield. Again, you see a split zone here with Teven Jenkins. I think, and I still think he's a good tackle. I think one of the coaching points that he'll have going into the year is pad level, right? So even though split zone is cutting away from him, watch his pad level. Defenders that can get lower pad level than you usually gonna win. I think he uses and relies on his strength a lot to make up for his pad level not being low. But as powerful as he is, if he could play with leverage and pad level, lower pad level, imagine getting up under this defender. He blows him up still, backside, and eats him alive. But imagine if he can get in there and get his pad level lower and get into that breastplate. He'll be able to power drive guys to the ground. But I still give him the win on this because it's part of that game, and he won the rep. 2 quick kick steps and a punch. 1, 2, punch. He's a little bit early on his hand delivery, reaching a little bit, but he wins the rep, right? Wins the rep because the ball's out and he still fight with his man. And again, he's strong enough and big enough to recover, so it'll make up anytime he has a drop off in technique. What I'm most impressed about is you got a rookie tackle, right? Even though David Montgomery comes off the side, there's no real chip there, right? There's no real chip or help there. So you got a rookie left tackle with no help winning reps in a primetime, I don't know if this was a Monday night game, I believe it was, primetime football game. You got a guy, a rookie left tackle with very few reps winning against, veteran NFL talent. I'll take the rep as a win and build on it. So this rep I want to pay attention to. It's a matter of assignment, right? So the center has to make the correct call, because you got 4 down linemen, right, and a linebacker usually, depending whether you're playing against a 4-3 or 3-4 defense, right? So apparently some kind of right slide protection right call was given, right? Now this linebacker here is up in the gap, and usually Teven is going against this guy right here, right? So who do you block? If he blocks who he's normally blocking, if he takes who he normally takes, then this linebacker is going to be allowed to run free and smash the quarterback. So I just want to give a props here for knowing your assignment and doing the right thing. You take slide protect right, quarterback knows he has a free rusher. He has to get the ball out. So Teven basically power steps and slams and stops the linebacker in his tracks. Lets Justin get the ball out. This is what I'm talking about, the level of awareness. If you go back and watch the Bourne tape, the situational awareness sometimes before wasn't there. It was like sometimes guessing or not really understanding what the assignment was. This was a decisive power step. I know what my job is. Kick step first, right? Kick step, and then that quick response to spot power step to come back downhill and block the linebacker. Now, a second look, and I looked at this before, I'm seeing a little bit of reaching with Teven, and I was really impressed, and still am impressed, because he's winning one-on-one reps mostly overall. But if I'm nitpicking as a coach, I'm not liking the reaching, right? Reaching here instead of just being patient with your punch. But he's winning these reps because his strength and his size. And you still have to take in consideration that this is a rookie left tackle on an island with no help, right? So timing to get the ball out. And he's still making these guys with his sure size and strength. They have to take his size into consideration, because no matter what, you have to go around him, right? That's the first thing you have to navigate. And if he would just get his pad level just a little bit lower, play a little bit lower, and be patient with that punch, he would really still make guys. He would really be out here dominating. But you still have to give him the win, because look at where the defenders is in comparison to the quarterback. It's just still good for a rookie. I think this one right here is an exceptional pass set by Teven Jenkins. Again, watch him quick kick step, gets position. This is a more patient punch on his behalf, right? Still leaning a little bit, but I'll take it, right? Still making the defender, get depth, right? See how far he is away from the pass rusher right there, right? So gets depth with his kick step and builds a wall, right? In the outer pace of conflict with the defender, right? So it's not only just a wall, but he comes out some and he creates space and for the defender to have to work around. Now, sit in your chair, deliver your hands, right? And just build a wall for your quarterback to work with. I give him the win on that rep. Just a little bit of violence from Teven, right? So simple run play, right? Zone, outside, inside zone. We're just going to snap the ball and mush, right? Is he going to get in the fight? Is he going to be involved? Is he going to finish? Yes. Can you run split zone behind your big tackle, your big rookie left tackle, sophomore left tackle? Yes, you can. Takes a good skip step, boom. Hands on the defender, and he's running. I'm stronger than you. I'm going to just run you completely out of the play, right? Now, if your center's not getting on right there, you might have something. But still, David makes something out of nothing. But Teven's doing his job. Now, I don't know if Cole Kmet grabs this guy or not, but it looks like Teven just owns him right here. Even though he has a chip, this is how you work off the chip. Boom. Stalemates. Comes back for seconds. Nothing there. Quarterback goes to the tight end out in the flat. But I like it. Probably one of my favorite Teven Jenkins reps right here, pass sets. Watch him with the subtle help of the guard, right? Snap of the ball, push here, eyes on his guy, tracking his guy all the way things, stalking him like a hawk. Oh yeah, I'm watching you. We following you, footstep for footstep, right? It's like a mirror. Help the guard, it's like he's mirroring. It's like they're doing a pretty dance. Feet in the ground. Now, watch the power step. I'm coming back downhill, attacking. I'm stalking. This, you know what I'm saying? Having a guy big enough, agile enough. All this stuff is important. You'll win plenty. And he's going one-on-one. Where's the chip help? Where's the tight end? Where's the running back? Yeah, he had some help during this game, but I really believe Teven can win one-on-one. He doesn't need help, right? So we can focus on whoever the tackle is and finding a guy that we don't have to give help on the right side, so we can block a lot of 5-man pros, so we can have a lot of guys in the wide receiver concepts and take advantage. Must not get this guy's day, but because Teven was starting to own him here. Same guy, same deal, 2 kick steps and a punch, boom, knocks him off his square. Now Justin can step up in the pocket and deliver the ball. This is stuff you get excited about. Rookie left tackle winning one-on-one reps, right? So snap of the ball, kick step, boom, boom, 2 kick steps and a punch. Watch this punch. Watch the impact. Create separation. Now the defender has to come back for seconds. So you just creating seconds. Why am I confident that Teven Jenkins can play in this league? Because he's going one-on-one with NFL talent. He has a strong enough punch. Again, he's going to need some more experience against more experienced pass rushers, but I'll take it. Coming off an injury, we'll build on it and grow from there. Obvious pass situations are crucial, right? So the defense knows you're passing the ball, and when you can win in these situations and pass pro one-on-one, you know, these are all good signs. 2 kicks and a gobble. Can't emphasize enough. A lot of these plays, Minnesota is in obvious pass situations, pass rush mode. So to have your rookie left tackle hold up, kick step, punch. So what if your left tackle does lose a rep? That's when having a good quarterback comes into play. So yeah, and having your guys in sync with one another. So he gets back here, kick steps, guy makes an inside move, loses the rep, but still recovery. Come downhill hard and give your quarterback a chance. Don't give up. Come downhill hard. Watch this. Now we're still playing ball when you lose a rep. So knowing how to recover, power step, come downhill, boom. Let your quarterback be an athlete and make a play. These all look like the same plays, but they're not. These are individual rep wins. One-on-one pass pro, kick step, punch, another rep. Are you worried about left tackle? Opening up. See, he's getting in his bag now. See how he's opening? I can tell the confidence because of how he's kicking and power. And his technique is not getting lazier the more reps he goes. Kicking, power, that's that explosive step. Boom, that first step, hands, ball gone. Now, one thing I hadn't got a chance to go over with this Teven Jenkins footage is this. When he realizes that he does not have a guy coming, he's very decisive at coming downhill and helping his teammates finish off their blocks. Oh, my guy's not coming? No problem. I'm going to put my foot in the ground and I'm going to bring the smoke. Boom. This is when you just totally defeated your opponent, right? They're not even trying anymore. They're not even trying anymore. You're just playing with them, right? Here's a case where the chip helps a little bit, helps out, but then it just leaves Teven kind of in no man's land doing nothing. You're wasting a man. You can get that running back out in the pass protection or the pass route concept or pattern. You know, I believe Teven can handle, I believe this is Smith from Green Bay. I believe Teven can handle him one-on-one. I have opposite positions right here where I'm nitpicking. All right, here against the Green Bay Packers, you'll see a rep where Teven is expecting help or chip from the running back. He knows what's going on. Even when he misses, even when he fails, you're expecting help and a chip from a running back, piss poor effort. You got to get shoulder to shoulder right there and make sure, you know what I'm saying, you close the gap. Teven's leaving room from David to chip him real good. David whiffs on the chip, gives up the sack. That's why I say leave him alone. Let him block one-on-one. But again, new rookie left tackle. The staff probably said, hey, let's give him a little bit of help. It's a Green Bay game, primetime game. Against a big rival, let's give him a little help. He don't need it. At some point, the rookie's voice or the sophomore, his voice, Teven's voice should be loud enough where he can speak in the room and tell him, say, Coach, I got him. Let's start with the chip helps, because you're going to see right here, again, it just hurts him where he just can't get the rhythm of the guy, and his teammates don't necessarily know what they're doing in blocking. So right here, you got Cole on this side. He's supposed to help out with a chip, but if you whiff, it's going to mess your guy up, right? And although Teven's able to gobble him up, I don't necessarily want Cole helping him out. Now this is what I'm talking about. One-on-one rep with Teven, one of the premier pass rushers in the league. Let's go. Kick step, right? If I'm nitpicking, I don't want that bend in the waist, but it's still, he gets into his body with his hands and gets into his head with his face mask, and this is a win in a rep. And me just loving to see Teven win one-on-ones versus Green Bay. I could never get enough of that footage, right? So kick step, a little bit of a chip. Let's not call this a one-on-one then. Kick step, a little bit of a chip, stalemate him, right? But this is what we want to see all day. Again, great for at the time as a rookie to have situational awareness and recognize when they're gonna do twists and stunt up front and being able to handle all that, right? Again, active desperation on behalf of defenses to generate pass rushes are twists and stunts, right? So here you go. You get a little bit of help from tight end. He crashes down, but are your eyes aware enough? Or do you get your shoulders so turned that you can't react to a twist? Nope. You can twist all you want. Teven gonna eat that up too. When a defensive line or a defensive coordinator is starting to use stunts and stuff like that, that means you're kind of getting the best of them up front. I'm not getting any pass rush. One way you can generate pass rush with stunts, twists, and of course blitzes, right? So when you start seeing stuff like this, then your guy's not getting there. So kudos to Teven, right? And offensive line. So how does the rookie left tackle handle a twist, right? Power step, watch this. Now you put your foot in the ground. Kick step. Now you put your foot in the ground and come back downhill on I know that's bad footage, on a power step, right? And still able to hand guys off and get back to his assignment. Another situation where a twist stunt doesn't fool Teven. His maturity is amazing. Like, it's instinctive. If you're going down, I'm expecting that guy to come back outside. He's always ready in position. He's never assuming if a guy is going inside, one of these guys is gonna have to wrap back around and get contained out here. That situational awareness is amazing.
Almost got me talking on the mute. There you have it, man. That's the Teven Jenkins All-22 breakdown. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was labor intensive, but we got it done. Listen, my takeaway from the breakdown is I'm not worried about Teven Jenkins at left tackle. And as I said a few times during that breakdown, I think Teven, it was more problematic for Teven to actually have a tight end or running back chip than it was for him to go one-on-one. So ideally, that's exactly what you want. You want a guy that can win the one-on-one battles in pass pro. The run blocking aggressiveness is well documented. Also, to provide context, you're talking about a guy that didn't play a lot of football his senior year in college, then comes and has a back injury, comes back off a back injury, right? So the Green Bay game was the majority of his full game rep. So that's why I believe Nagy or Glazer decided to give him a lot of help in the Green Bay game. But I think it caused a lot of confusion for him in his pass sets. Probably wasn't that used to it. And he didn't perform well when he had tight end chips or running back chips. But if you leave him on an island by himself, I trust him to protect the blind side of Justin Fields going forward. So I'm trending up. I'm good on him. Let him be the guy at left tackle. I believe that was somebody's questions down in the comments, and we'll get to those in a second. But let's take a time and hit the next segment on this thing, man, and let's see how it goes. Answer your question. I know you got to cut that short, man, because YouTube don't like me using that. So it's all good, man. It goes down to DMs. My boy Swifty is back from Swifty Sports Network, man. The best scout on YouTube. Argue with your mama. All right. We ain't having it. I ain't having it. It's just like that. He's on Bears 360, and we ride like family. So Bears Truth asked the question. My question is, how important it is for us to have a wide receiver like Bell that can win the route. Has to have value. I'm going to let Swifty jump in on that one. Actually, I just lost him, so I'll go in until he rejoins. And I don't know. I don't know the bare truth, to tell you the truth, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think Bell can be beneficial maybe in the slot, right? Maybe at the Z. If I'm thinking Bell, think about the matchups, right? So if you're in the slot, who are you primarily going to be matched up against? You're going to be matched up against nickel corners and linebackers and safeties, right? Teams that's going to play a large portion of zone coverage and keep their base personnel in. They're going to stay with that base personnel linebacker. You're going to have a nickel back, or they may match him up with safeties. So he's not going to be a primary guy. I wouldn't use him as a primary guy because, again, like I mentioned earlier, I can't line him up at all three positions and expect him to win battles. Now, it's about strategically threatening the defense and what they're trying to do, right? So think about it. If you don't have top end speed, I'm not worried about you blowing past me. I know you're working underneath. I think this happened a lot with Allen Robinson, right? If I'm not worried, think about our offense, how we kind of played in a 10-yard phone booth in previous seasons, right? We didn't have a bunch of big explosive plays where we stretched the defense down the field and so on and so forth. And that's the limitation of a guy like that. But again, now if you are deliberately wanting to work intermediate routes, maybe say in the red zone or something like that, a guy like David Bell would be beneficial in all the positions in the red zone where you have a shorter amount of field to work with, right? You're in the red zone, maybe first and 10, first and goal from the 3, 4, 5 yard line where you can't blow past anybody anyway, right? There's nowhere to run. And the guy that can work sideline to sideline and just be excellent in his route running, I think that would be a scenario where he might be beneficial right there, Bear Truth. But in the middle of the field, nah, I'm not too high up on him, right? So let's get on to the next question. My boy Don Bird, our resident Lions fans. Shout out to Don Bird, bro. Don is always good for the algorithm and just good fun. So if we get at each other in the comments, man, it's just good fun. How can you run a power offense with a meteor O line? I'm on this grill queue, but listening. How can you run a power offense with a mediocre O line? To answer Don's question, quite frankly, man, listen, if you pay attention to what I've been saying on previous weeks and what I think Bears fans overall should pay attention to, Luke, and I've given the clues week after week, right? My first video, I did a deep dive into Luke Getzey's background, research has passed, and that's when I initially said I believe we are moving to a gap power run game versus a primarily zone dominant run game, right? And then we had Ryan Poles come back at the draft. I did a video where I showed where he confirmed it. He said, we're switching styles when discussing the offensive line. And then I said, you guys be on the lookout because when you're running a gap power dominant run style offense, you have to have a good fullback. So I went 3 for 3 on that. We signed a fullback, right? And to confirm that we are running a gap power style offense. And then that's exactly what we did. So that's your sign right there. So again, I think what Bears should take note, and this is for all the guys that's going to be very negative on the Ryan Poles signing so far, what we're doing. The mantra that we've taken on based off of the research we've done is this is going to be that Bill Belichick, Ted Thompson, Ryan Wolf style organization where the system is the star. In a gap power style offense, you're not looking for world beaters. You're looking for a specific skill set in your offensive linemen, namely guys that have good feet that can pull from one side of the line of scrimmage to another. So that guy may be a third, fourth, or fifth rounder. He may be good at that one thing. Think about how Bill Belichick drafts players. You are good at that one or two things. And in a gap power style offense, you need guards that can pull. One name I'm going to throw out there that I mentioned to Swifty yesterday. You guys y'all going to laugh at me, but keep your eye out for Dakota Dozier. If you go watch the film and look at his feet, the dude has crazy good feet for a big guy. That's ideal for a guy that's going to be a puller, right? Whether you're running a power play, where you're running counter trey, or you're running a pin and pull with the tackle pins and the guard pulls to the outside on a quick toss, he's going to be ideal for something like that. So when you draft guys or sign guys with specific skill set, it also helps your salary cap because he's undervalued, or for lack of making up a term, he's disvalued by other organizations, but you have a specific job for him to do, and he comes in and becomes a world beater in your organization. So I hope I answered your question. Soapbox moment there. Don Bird, what do you feel about that, Swift?
Man, I love Jenkins. The question that I saw asked a couple times in the chat was, do we leave him at left tackle, or what Stack said, do we move him to his natural position at right tackle? And I wanted to just quick point on that is a lot of people say that. That's one of the narratives that are out there, that he's a natural right tackle. He actually started as a left tackle at Oklahoma State, and what happened was the right tackle got injured, lost for the season, and the backup swing tackle was actually engaged to Teven Jenkins' sister. So Teven went to him, who was his buddy, and was like, hey, are you more comfortable on the right or the left? And the dude was like, I'm way more comfortable on the left. And Teven's like, I'll play right. And he went to right tackle and was just as dominant as he was at left tackle. But that's the main reason why he went over there. A lot of people think, well, that means he can't play left tackle. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure he can play anywhere. And he said that himself. Like, he did get a little more used to it because he played more right tackle. So he might be a tad more comfortable, but he has the skills to play left tackle, in my opinion.
I agree with you, man. If you just look at the film, bro, he looks natural at left tackle. He wasn't getting – compare the video breakdown I did with Larry Borum to the tape on Teven Jenkins. He looks more natural at the position. Again, coming off injury, a back injury where he probably lost a lot of strength, right? A rookie left tackle going one-on-one and winning one-on reps. Again, argue with whoever you want. I'm good with him. Let me get to
that
a few
back
more.
injury is a little understated too. I mean, that's something that most people, when they come back, they're not going to be close to full strength. I mean, he came back and he looked pretty dang good, and I think he'll get even stronger over the course of the offseason.
How about this question for Bears Truth? Swifty, he talking about wide receivers. If you can pick 3 wide receivers to create a wide receiver group along with Mooney, who and why?
Man, a dream one? Okay, so I'd take Pickens as your X. You got Mooney at the Z. Then in the slot, I'd take Sky Moore. And then in a dream world, that number 4, I'd take Christian Watson. But I mean, that number 4, you could take a guy that's actually more realistic late. If we did get Sky Moore and Pickens, like you could get Bo Melton or Samari Toure in the 6th or 7th round, or maybe even undrafted free agent as our 4th receiver, and that room would be deadly. And that's right now. Obviously, Pringle would be the 4th, so you'd have Pringle, Mooney, Pickens, and Sky Moore, and that'd be insane. But then a couple years later, if Pringle leaves or we don't re-sign him, you'd have a guy, you can develop another 4th or slot guy to come in there too.
Yeah, it's understated how I feel about Pringle. I don't mention a whole lot about Byron because, one, I don't want to seem like a homer. Shout out to
Mm-hmm.
Robinson High School Knights, South Tampa, Florida, class of 2012. I'm still working on that interview, y'all. By the way, we gonna make it happen. I'll be down there next month. Hopefully, we can link something up. But Byron's been back and forth between Tampa and workouts and stuff like that.
That was one of the first breakdowns I did that started getting likes on here. Was I broke down Byron Pringle and just the amount of separation that guy gets. A lot of people say it's just Kansas City. Everybody's focused on Kelsey or Hill, but when you have a guy that's guarding you, it's not like he's just letting you go because you're not Kelsey or Hill. He gets separation, and I like Pringle a lot.
Yeah. Listen, man. So we done with the DM section of the show, man. I can't wait to get to this next segment of the show because it's been much talked about all week. And I just want to get into it, man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the Drunk Uncle segment, but I'm going to jump straight into the video so you guys can hear what's been said. And then me and Swifty are going to provide our takes on in response to what was said about Justin Fields earlier this week. So let's go.
Possible, got feelings in my cup. I see everything in double, got 2 blunts, I'm rolling up. I've been walking in a circle, no expression, now I'm stuck. 34 decline, cough like Giannis chasing bucks.
So I read something the other day in a voluminous off-season report on each team that was written by Sheil Kapadi in The Athletic, whose work is just, I mean, the volume and detail of his work. And in talking about the Chicago Bears, it was fascinating because it was an unnamed source. Obviously, he's got a lot of connections. Who said, "I love what Ryan Poles is doing. How methodical, how aware, how honest," and then concluded by saying, "This year is going to suck." And I get it, and we it felt that way from the outset, especially looking at where the cap numbers were starting in for the Bears. Like this is going to be a rough one. This could be 4 wins, this could be 5 wins, it could even be less, and it may get the Bears closer to a Super Bowl.
Well, that's right, and sometimes we see this happen, and there's a fine line between deliberately, strategically taking a step back and tanking. There's a fine line between those two things. But it feels like the Bears are deliberately taking a step back. And the problem is, usually teams do that when they don't have a quarterback they believe in, because part of the setup is we will be so bad we end up getting a quarterback that becomes our franchise foundation. Maybe that's the hidden message here, that the new regime doesn't believe in Justin Fields, because if they did, would they be tearing everything else down, or would they be trying to build everything else up? Because what happens is if the team stinks, Justin Fields is going to have a rough year, and fans are going to be like, well, we wasted a couple of first-round picks on him, on to the next one. So maybe if there's truth to the idea, and it sure looks like it, that they're deliberately tearing everything down, it could be that this is just step one toward moving on from Justin Fields at the appropriate time, which could be as soon as next year if they would trade him to someone else and then begin their search for whoever the next potential franchise quarterback is going to be.
I will give you an alternative.
So just like that, man, you have your drunk uncle of the Week award going out to Dan Bierstein and Mike Florio. Go ahead, Swifty, man, because Swifty had to turn his hat to the backs.
It was, I didn't know how I was gonna react because we watched that. Me and Coach actually we listened to it yesterday, and it was every time I hear that, like it sparks different reactions for me because I'm hearing it and I'm like, why is this guy who is drunk uncle, a guy who doesn't know anything about the Bears situation in general? He's some big guy who's got a lot of following in this platform and thinks he can say things, but now he's created a narrative. And now that narrative is just going to keep spinning. Like there's so many fans out there who aren't going to watch this show or don't have people they go to with good takes. And all year now that's planted in their head. Every time, as soon as Fields throws his first interception, they're going to be like, see, they're moving on from this guy. They're trading him. And that narrative's going to stick with him. And that's anyone watching this show, guys, we need you to know that's just a narrative. That guy knows nothing about the Bears. Ryan Poles wouldn't have came here if he wanted to trade Justin Fields. I said,
It's fine.
Eberflus wouldn't have taken this job. He wouldn't have brought in Getsy to build an offense around Fields. None of it's true. It's a narrative, and it's something that we just got to laugh at. We know he's the drunk uncle, and we know that Justin Fields is the future of this team right now. And anybody who thinks differently is honestly, they just want clickbait. They want clicks or something, or they're just out of touch and they don't know football.
Yeah, I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking, right? You're kind of hard on the fans, Bears fans, right? Because, as a group, there's about 10 to 20% of us that just, they're just, for lack of better words, toxic, right? It's just everything is negative. The sky's falling, right? But then this is how I came up with the Drunk Uncle segment, because you look at stuff like this and you realize how we got there, right? My biggest thing was Dan Bernstein just, you know what I'm saying? It looks like he was a little bit too happy that anybody's hinting at Justin's demise or failure of the organization. So, there's a fine line and balance you have as a fan and as a commentator or a media guy, where you call out where things are going to go bad, right? And we're not going to do this on the show. We're not going to straight homer it. But I feel like there's enough of bad or negative narratives out there that we need guys like yourself and myself that's going to do the research and work and let you know why it potentially may work. So he said this guy did a plethora of research on 32 teams. Now, let me tell you guys, right? We have one team to cover, the Bears. If he did research on all 32 teams and provided a report, I'm already throwing that report out of the window, because it would have taken months, and I say months, to do enough research to come up with the conclusion that the Bears were going to suck and be terrible. And then to go on and say that, this is a sign that they don't believe in Justin Fields. And the worst part to me again, is Bernstein, his faces he made, the facial expressions, that he was just too excited, right, to see this kid fail.
That's kind of Chicago media right now. It's like they want that clickbait. They know that Bears fans feed off it, and it's awful to see. And that's kind of why we're here, guys.
I mean, yeah, they create, gainful employment for us, for lack of better words. But here's the thing, though. Like, come on, man. Why does it have to be the extremes? The Bears are either winning the Super Bowl or the organization is failing. And then I don't understand the personal side of it, too. Like, they start going in on the McCaskey family. They're terrible, without acknowledging the changes that's being made. Nobody talked about us going from a two-man decision-making team to developing a hiring committee, right? So for me, somebody that works in corporate who understands the hierarchical organization structure versus a flat organization structure, that's a business model that a lot of corporate organizations are going to. They don't want the CEO to be the isolated individual decision maker, but they're forming committees to help protect the interest and the investment of stakeholders so they slide and develop more voices, more personalities. It's the Bernsteins of the world. It's the beat writers, man. And I'll have this soapbox moment too, right? This is why we have to lock foot and step as Bears DIY media, because really, for those that really care to do the work, research, right? We won't ask general questions. We won't just throw narratives out there. We're going to get you the knowledge, do the research, and bring you the information that you need for you to be optimistic about your team. And we'll call out foolishness when we see it. If I see something on tape, I call it out. If they draft a guy that is just not a good player, Swifty will call it out. What's your take on that, Swifty?
Yeah, no, man, I agree with you 100%. It's just there's too much of that negative spin out there. There's too much, and Bears fans they feed off it sometimes. When you're a fan, and I saw it a lot when I was growing up. I mean, you'd go to read articles, and every article I read is negative, and I would come away like you start to feel it like, man, why is everything our team do like not good? Why can't we do anything right? And you start to feed into it and believe it, and that's why I've always wanted to ask questions and research it myself, because I'd hear this guy's bad or whatever, and then I'd watch the tape myself and I'd be like, that's not what I'm seeing. And the the narratives with Justin Fields are the ones that really get me. Is like, my whole life we've been waiting. We've never had a quarterback like this. Like, the closest we've ever had to even close to a franchise quarterback is Jay Cutler. And I was happy when we got Jay Cutler just because he had a huge arm and he's a good quarterback, but he was never that guy. There was always something missing there. And even him, like, he doesn't have anywhere near the talent Justin does. And now we have this quarterback like Justin Fields, and it's so weird to see the big Chicago Bears media coverage guys all acting like they're buying into this, that we want to get rid of Justin Fields. Or I saw one the other day where a guy just came out, huge following, and just tweeted, Justin Fields is going to disappoint a lot of Bears fans. And I'm like,
Based
at
off
this
of what?
point, you just want clicks. That's the thing. He didn't base it off anything. They just want clicks, and that's it. And they know, and come on, I know, if we were to tweet something like that, we know a lot of people would respond to it, and a lot of people, but they don't care if it's negative energy or positive energy. As long as you're clicking on their stuff, they don't care.
And so, to your point about Justin, right? Go back and watch the film. I did a video breaking down Justin Fields, and I did the research. My boy can throw versus man. He can throw versus cover two, man or zone, right? I pointed out the video of the throw versus Green Bay, the bucket drop and cover two zone between the cornerback and safety. Too long is picked off by the safety. Too short is picked off by the corner. Every coverage, cover one through cover three, I said this guy can read defenses and throw the football. He can throw the deep ball. He can throw with touch. He can throw the ball to the outer boundaries or outside the hashes with zip. The only thing that Justin needs is more experience, a library of blitz package, seeing that. And then also, as I inboxed his personal quarterback coach, said, hey, guys, y'all need to have him practice changing up his snap count, right? He goes on the first count too much, and that doesn't give him a understanding of who's blitzing, right? Up his snap count, that would allow him to see who's coming on the blitz, right? So go hard count on two, similar to Aaron Rodgers. Get guys to jump. That'll tell you who's coming on the blitz. And then you'll know and either check out of the play or move on to the next play. But good breakdown on it. So there you have it, man. There's your drunk uncles for the week. Mike Florio and Dan Berenstein from Chicago. What is that? 670 score. Y'all can hold that award for the week till we get back to the next one and go for there. Before we get out of here, Swifty, I want to do this, man, and announce this coming up. Guys, come hang out with us on draft night. It's going to be the most lit draft party on YouTube. I don't know if Swifty going to join me on that one. I would love to have you, my boy. But definitely, we're going to be live, and we're going to have a crazy good draft party. I know everybody's anticipating who we're going to draft. We're going to have live responses to the Bears picks or trade downs, and we'll go from that. Other than that, man, I'm your boy, Coach T. This is my man, Swifty, the top scout in the game. We out, man. Thanks for joining us and bear it down.
That was great being on the show, Coach.